I have a breathing method that's just fantastic because the more oxygen you can take in through your lungs, and you need to keep them healthy, the more healthy you're going to be. So I have a little breathing system called the 521, and people think, can't do that. So you breathe in through your nose for 5, you hold for 6, you breathe out through your mouth for 7, and you hold for 8, and then you breathe in through your nose for 9. You keep doing that till you get to 21.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
that's not seconds, that's counts. So you
Right.
learn to count really fast.
Your body has been speaking to you your entire life, and learning how to listen changes everything. This is the Underlying Answers podcast. It's time to restore the design. Today, we're exploring a question that challenges one of the most common assumptions about aging. What if growing older doesn't have to mean accepting a steady decline in healthy energy or vitality? Many people spend decades building successful careers, caring for families, and working toward the future they hope to enjoy someday. Yet somewhere along the way, they begin believing that fatigue, physical limitations, and loss of mental sharpness are just simply part of getting older. But what if that's not the whole story? Joining me today is Dennis Henson, an entrepreneur, author, and lifelong high achiever who experienced a profound shift in perspective after surviving a stroke. Rather than accepting a diminished future, Dennis applied the same systems thinking that fueled his business. I'm going to pause there and go back to that part. Dennis applied the same systems thinking that fueled his business success to understanding and rebuilding his own health. Now, at 78 years young, Dennis is passionate about helping others rethink what's possible as they age. His work challenges the belief that decline is inevitable and instead explores how intentional choices can help us maintain strength, vitality, and mental clarity throughout life. We'll talk about aging, resilience, recovery, and what becomes possible when we begin viewing our health as something we intentionally cultivate rather than just simply manage. Dennis, welcome to the Underlying Answers podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm excited to jump into this topic because I really feel like I, at a very young age, started already buying into that old concept, that old belief system. So really happy to dive into this conversation with you.
Well, thank you for having me, Cindy. I really look forward to it myself. So let's get going.
Yeah. And I want to tell you, I want to do a little shout out because I'm so amazed when I get to meet with individuals that have had such life experience, that have been through so much, and that are out here still talking. My mom just published, she's 80 and just published her first book yesterday it came live, and it's just inspiring. So you inspire me. My mom inspired me. And so again, happy to be having this conversation. And let's just start by kind of looking back before your stroke. How would you describe your relationship with your body? So I want to, with the Underlying Answers, we kind of try and bring everything back to the body and the messages the body is giving us, right? So before having a stroke and having so many health problems, what was your relationship with your body? What were the signals that you now recognize? Could you see them at the time? Did you not see them? Was your body speaking to you? How would you describe that?
Before the stroke, I was very busy. I had several real estate investing groups. I was teaching individual students. I had a lot of online business. I had a number of employees that I delegated to. I was just busy. I was having meetings all the time. And so my health didn't really enter into my mind, but my eyesight started to dim. Before, I'd been driving my entire life, and driving was easy, but I got to where I was running up on curves and making mistakes that I shouldn't have been making. Then I started losing some of my dexterity. I'd be sitting at a table and eating, and I'd knock a glass over like a 3-year or a 2-year-old kid, and that just doesn't seem like me. But the thing that really surprised me, and I didn't really mind, was I've always been really thin, and I started to gain weight. My stomach started to get big, and I was teasing my wife. I said, I'm bigger than you, but I thought that was good, but it turns out that really wasn't good. And my ankles swelled to 3-4 times their size. So we're ballroom dancers, and we couldn't, we had to stop dancing because of my ankles. Then I would have to get up at night because I'd have night sweats. I'd have to get up and change all my clothes because they were soaking wet. But the thing that really bothered me the most was got this hacking cough. And no matter what I took or no matter what I did, I took medicine after medicine. I went to the doctor, I asked nurses, they keep adding medicines and medicine. Finally, the last medicine they added, that's when I had the stroke. And I really kind of attribute the going over the edge to all of those medicines. I had target dyskinesia where my hand was dancing. I was playing the piano all the time, and that was from all the medicines I was taking. So my body was trying to tell me there's something wrong, but I was too busy. Some of my friends took me out to lunch and said, Dennis, we're concerned about your diet. You don't eat well. You take in too much sugar. You eat the wrong kind of foods. I said, oh, that's okay. Don't worry about me. I'm be fine. I feel great. And the next week, I was in hospital and really, really in bad shape.
Yeah, I hear the story that I see so often, and I appreciate you sharing this and just being really honest with my listeners, because your body was speaking to you for a long time, and what I hear is a progression of symptoms, right? So it tried to speak to you louder and louder and louder until it suddenly had to actually like full on shout and scream, and that's the point that many of us get knocked down, right? My body screamed at me until I almost died, right? And it sounds like a similar path for you. So when you look back, let's talk about that busyness really quick. So when you look back and you were having symptoms, what do you think kept you staying busy and stopped you from actually paying attention to your body? Do you feel like it was just something you never had done before? Do you feel like what do you think was that disconnect between you and your body prior to having these symptoms and kind of being forced to start listening?
Cindy, you hit the nail right on the head. Everybody is a creature of habits. So whatever your habits are, that's what you're going to do. Other things can try to get in the way, but habits are inertia. You're going in this direction, and if you start to think, well, I want to go in another direction, the inertia takes over. And your subconscious says, no, we're going in the direction we're going in, and we're not going to change. So it wasn't until after I had several strokes that I realized I have got to change my habits if I'm ever going to get well. And so I started doing different things, and every new thing that I did in order to get well and to live longer, I didn't just do it one time. I made it a habit, and I did it. And I added to the things I was already doing, and the healing started to multiply. The good feelings, the slowing of the aging, the clearing of your mind, the muscle strength all started coming back. And to this day, I'm still adding habits. I have a protocol with 39 habits. But if I find another one that says it's going to make me live longer and feel better, I'll add that one too.
Number 40.
That's right.
I love that. I love that because it's working for you, right? I mean, look at how well you're doing.
It is.
Let's chat a little bit about that. You've experienced your body through just such profound breakdown and remarkable recovery, right? Obviously, you multiple strokes, and then you just over time incorporating these life-changing habits that are really making such a big difference for you. So looking back now, what has your own journey taught you about the intelligence of the body and its capacity to heal when we begin working with it rather than against it? Because I love what you said. You started listening, right? You started listening to your body. So what did your journey teach you about the intelligence of the body and how you really became almost a partner with your own body, right?
Yes. Cindy, the human body is an amazing organism, and it has the ability and the will to recover. You have to give it the proper tools. If you don't give it the things that it needs to recover, it makes it impossible. No matter how badly it wants to, it'll continue down the path that you were on, which is not a good path until you make the decision to change. So some of the proper tools include things that I'm not against the medical doctors, the medical industry. They're wonderful. They have a place. They saved a lot of lives, but you've got to do certain simple things like being hydrated. If you're not hydrated, you're asking for a stroke or a heart attack. And let's just say you got real busy and you forgot to drink any water or do anything to be hydrated that day. your blood starts to thicken that day. And if you already have a problem, it can become catastrophic. So you have to make it a habit never to miss things like being fully hydrated. Now, you may think I'm talking about just drinking water. Well, just drinking water is a good idea. If you don't, you'll die. But you need to take it a step further. Now, I use Celtic salt. You can use Himalayan salt or sea salt. You can use just not table salt. Table salt is, you're actually worse off if you just use that. But I take a pinch of Celtic salt, put it under my tongue, drink a glass of water. Do that 3 times a day, and you've given your body everything it needs for all your cells to be fully hydrated and to keep your blood flowing smoothly through your body. Another thing, and these just make sense, but it's eating healthy foods. Now, the American diet is a heart attack diet. If you just eat what everybody else eats, you're going to get a heart attack just like everybody else does. Almost everybody dies of a heart attack. So you need to change the foods that you're eating. When I came out of the hospital, they gave me a diet and I read it. My wife looked at it and I said, I don't know if I want to live if this is all I can eat. We made it a point to come up with healthy things that are fun to eat. And now I look forward to eating because I eat better, much better now. And it's much more tasty and it's just wonderful. I tell my wife, I eat like a king because of the wonderful things that she puts in front of me. So you need to learn what eating healthy is. If you don't know, you can go to my website, bodyofhealth.life, and there's all kind of recipes. There's all kind of lists. They even have grocery lists there, and they're all free. Nothing, we're not going to ask you for your email or anything. It's just there to help people. And I hope everybody will take advantage. Supplementation is what turned my health around. I needed nitric oxide. And it wasn't until I started taking that till the blood in my system started flowing properly and I started healing. So since then, I've learned all of the other supplements and they're listed on the website too. But the number one supplement for me with a heart attack or a stroke or anything that has to do with blood flow is nitric oxide. And it's pretty easy to get. You can get it in beets. You can buy these little things that you chew. They're not really good for you because they have sugar in them. Or you can get the powder that doesn't have the sugar, which is ultimate. I take that every day. And it also controls your blood pressure. Now, I'm not going to promise that that's going to happen because I'm not a medical doctor and I'm not making any promises. I'm saying if my blood pressure goes up, I increase the amount of nitric oxide and it goes right back down. That's me. All right. That's just what happens to me.
And Dennis, I appreciate you saying that because one thing that I'm a big advocate on is that we're all so different. And there are incredible supplements out there. Yes, there's a million diets we can all look at. And what really benefits us the most is listening to our body and what we need. So you're saying this worked for me.
Yes.
And I know one of the things that I actually healed in my own healing journey was I had tried so many different things because I was promised this is going to help you. I was chronically ill for over 34 years and everybody was like, try this. It's the magic thing. It's going to help you. And I really don't believe that there's any magic pill or magic supplement or magic Western practice or Eastern practice. I believe that our bodies have the innate ability to teach us what it wants and and it sounds to me like you're listening to your specific body and saying, oh, I'm recognizing this is happening, therefore my body is asking for this.
That's funny. The next thing that I was going to mention is exactly what you're saying. Walking is the next thing. And while I walk, I got my mind moving toward healing. So I always had earphones on. I love Barbara O'Neill, and there's a lot of other doctors on there that I listen to. And whatever was wrong with my body, I would listen to that. Let's say I thought I was having a thyroid problem, and I was. And I didn't even know it. So I started listening about thyroid. And I would walk in the hot sun and I wouldn't sweat. And I thought, well, that's great. Everybody else is sweating, but not me. I'm dry. And I thought, well, that's great. Well, I found out That's not great. It's going to cause a lot of health problems. So once I started doing the saunas and walking in the hot sun and sweating the way I should have, my thyroid immediately corrected. And I think walking is a real key for anyone. If you can walk 8,500 steps a day, you're going to live longer, you're going to feel better, everything's going to work a lot better because your body is built to move. Now, if you can't walk, get a little rebounder, and I have a steps app on my phone, and I put it on my website. It's free, which will tell you how many steps you walk every day. It lets you set a goal, and it reminds you to reach your goal. That's wonderful. So if you can put that in, the thermal shock of a sauna or walking in the hot sun is great for you. And also the cold shock, if you can stand to take a cold shower or put some ice in your bathtub, that's another habit. And there's 39 of these. We could talk the entire hour about the habits, but I suggest that you go and check them out. There's free, there's no strings attached. So these are just normal things that people can do that pretty much don't cost anything. They don't go against the medical profession. They're just the way your body was supposed to be handled 100 years, 200 years ago, or 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, one of the things that I talk about in the theme of my organization is restore the design, because our original design is built to thrive, is built to heal, is built when we go out of dysregulation to re-regulate again, right? But the things, some of the patterns, some of the habits that we create or that we bring on in our lives create some of those changes. Sometimes trauma creates the change. There's a lot of different reasons that our body goes into dysregulation. But the key to getting out of it, like for you with the stroke, is to listen to what your body needs and take one step at a time towards building some of those healthier habits while also working on the underlying causes, which is, when I look at how I, for a while, became so afraid to try anything Eastern or Western, I just kind of had given up on everybody because I was getting all these broken promises in the Eastern philosophy, and I was getting told that I had no hope in the Western world, right? So Western medicine was saying, let's just keep you comfortable. There's nothing we can do. Eastern was saying, try this, try this, try this. And I kind of gave up on all of it. And then what the answer really ended up being was inside me, right? The answers were my body telling me, heal this trauma. I'm speaking to you, right? I'm speaking to you because I need you to heal something deeper. And so I love how, what you're saying is you back to yourself.
Yes.
Right? And started making some of those small changes a little at a time, because it can be overwhelming to think of making, 39 changes all at once.
You can't form 39 habits at one time. You can form one habit and then another and then another. It takes time, but when you start to see improvement, then you might speed those time limits up because you feel better, and you think this is working and I can think more clearly. When I came out of the hospital after my last really big stroke, I was blind. I couldn't walk. I was dizzy. I was hallucinating. I couldn't think. I couldn't speak. I mean, I was really in bad shape. And to see the difference in that person and me today, it's a world apart. But it didn't happen overnight. It took time. And like you say, meditation is important. You listen to what your body is telling you, what nature is saying. You listen and you also research. One of the really important things is you determine my goal is to not only be better, is to look normal, to feel normal, to be able to see, to be able to converse, to think clearly, not to look like I had a stroke. That was horrifying to me. Coming out of the hospital, I thought people are going to see me limping around. They're going to think, yeah, I can tell that guy's had a stroke. Well, I didn't want that. So I worked really hard so that that wouldn't be the case. And
your determination and your resiliency and your determination sounds like drove a lot of your motivation. Your motivation to get your life back, to not give up. What I'm hearing is you didn't just give up, because a lot of people go through something like that. And they're just like, well, I'm done. I'm giving up.
Your mind is 95%. Yeah. Your mind, if you get your mind right, have a positive mental attitude, believe, and move in the direction that you want to go, well, it doesn't matter what your goal is. It could be health, or it could be business, it could be anything. Maybe you want to become a veterinarian. I don't know, whatever it is, you get your mind aimed in that direction, and every day you move a little bit closer to that direction, and it works with health. If you don't have a positive mindset, though, these things probably won't work for you. You have to feel like that the things that you're doing are meaningful. If you don't, you'll quit doing them anyway, and they're not going to work.
And so many people have been through so much that it's easy to just give in and give up, you know? Right. My family says to me all the time, I don't know how you stuck it out as long as you did. I don't know how you did that. And it was because I always knew there was something more for me. I had this inner knowing that peace and joy and longevity were just, and thriving was my real truth. That this sickness, this illness, this way of living and being, you know, in bed every day for years and years and years was not my truth. And so it's really having that inner trust and belief, I think, as well. And I want to talk about something that you mentioned. You're talking a lot about changing and how the body heals and the body adapts. The more you bring in these habits, the more your body will adapt and start to accept the habits, right?
Yes.
So many people fear aging because they assume that decline is inevitable, right? Even as I was young. I mean, I was only 48 when I started getting so bad that my body started shutting down. And I started to give in a little bit then too, but then I had a grandbaby. And I'm like, oh no, I am not leaving this earth, right? I am going to be here for my grandbaby. And I started looking at what was possible for my body in a different way. So based on your own experience, what do you believe people misunderstand about growing older, about healing, and about the body's ability to adapt? Because I didn't believe that my body could change for a while. But then something, that inner motivation of having a new grandbaby, not being ready to leave this earth, that stirred something up inside me and changed my belief in my body's ability to adapt. What would you say are some of the key factors that really ignite us to make some of those changes?
Well, a lot of people believe myths. They believe that physical decline is just inevitable. It's going to happen, and that when they hit age 70, then everything's just going to drop off the cliff, and things are not going to be fun anymore. They're just going to be old, and they're going to have to deal with it. Well, part of that's true, but if you start making preparations at your age or when you're young, you can hit age 70 and there will be a drop off, but is it going to be a 2,000-foot cliff, or is it going to be on a couple of pillows? It depends on what you do now. So if you give your body the things, the nutrients, the exercise, all of the hydration, the breathing, the sleeping, if you give it everything that it needs, it will fight off those killers, those things like, you know, the cancer, the heart attack, the diabetes, stroke. Those things will have a much more difficult time attacking your body if you've given your body everything it needs to be strong, not just muscle strong, but you see, your body has systems. Every system is like a piston in a car. If one piston in a car stops, that car is not going to run very well, and eventually it'll stop. Every organ in your body is also important, and they're all part of this wonderful machine. You have to take care of each organ and each system individually. You work on one and you think, okay, I'm fixed. Well, no, you're not fixed until all of the systems are working smoothly. And once all of those systems are working together smoothly, when something tries to attack, it has a very difficult time, because it's not just one organ, it's all of your organs, all of your systems that are fighting to prevent that from hurting you and bringing you down. So let's just take one example. If you will do the sauna 4 times a week, just 4 times a week, or even 3, you're probably going to live 15 years longer just by doing that one little change. Isn't that amazing? But what I've done is I took that one little change and I listened and listened and listened. So I have like 10 different things. If you just do this, you're going to live 20% longer, 40% longer, you know, eating enough fiber, you know, getting enough. All of these things are working together. So when you put them all together, then the chances are you're not only going to live longer, you're going to enjoy the life.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what good is it to be, I'll be 80 in a year in a few months, okay? What good is it to be 80 if you can enjoy it, You want to get to 80 and still have the muscles and the enthusiasm and the thought process to be able to go out and do things that are fun, take trips, enjoy that part of your life.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I want to be a little bit of a devil's advocate here for just a moment. Do I have your permission to do that?
Sure.
Okay. So you mentioned, and this is important to me because this is really what my podcast is all about. And I'll be honest, Dennis, when we get off here, if you say, I don't like that part, we can talk about this. But I think it's important because this is what the underlying answers is truly about, is knowing what's right for us individually. So when you mentioned the sauna, that, sitting in the sauna 4 days a week can increase your lifespan, for so much, right? I started to cringe, and I'm just keeping it real. I'm not trying to, question you. I believe what you're saying, and that's 100% true for the right people. For instance, we have a sauna here at the house. For years, my husband uses it often. I could not use it. I can now, but I could not use it because my lymphatic system was so plugged up because, like you, I didn't sweat. But instead of it, what happened is my body created a belief and a pattern that heat was dangerous. And so heat created a mast cell reaction, which is like rashes and itching. And it's a full-blown reaction in our body. So for me, heat was actually very dangerous for a long time. And my body learned not to sweat because sweat meant creating this mast cell reaction, right? So I agree, and I believe that the sauna is really great for a lot of people and not necessarily for everybody. How do we know? Like, what is your take on how you know? And I keep trying to bring it back to this because this is really what the underlying answers is about. How did you know that it was good for you, that these steps were what you needed? Did you try it, trial and error? Oh, that didn't work for me, so I'm going to try this instead. Like, let's just take it down to the individual level because we're not all the same, and the what we all do is going to be and need to be able to heal at the level that you're healed, which is so beautiful because you gave yourself the opportunity to heal to the level that you are by doing all these steps. How do we tell people to start and try things without setting some people up for failure because it's not the right thing for them?
Well, it's really not the sauna that causes you to live longer. It's cleaning the pores in your skin. The skin is the largest organ in the body. Yep. And like you said, the lymphatic system's important. I have one of the habits is a rebounder. The rebounder causes the lymphatic fluid to move better than anything else. The change in gravity.
Yeah.
The largest amount of fluid in your body is not your blood. It's your lymphatic fluid. And it's part of it's part of the system your sewer system that cleans everything out. So your lymphatic fluid collects bad stuff from throughout your body. And one of the ways that it discards it is through the pores of the skin, and the other is the digestive system, and then also through your kidneys. So the point is this: you need to get the bad stuff out. And it doesn't, if you can't do the heat, that's fine. Find another way to get the bad stuff out. I just use that because, like you said, it worked for me. And the protocol that I have, the first thing it says is check with your physician to make sure these things will fit for you. But let's just say you only did 15 of the 39. You're going to be better. You're doing natural things that your body was intended to do. I rarely do the sauna because I'm walking so many steps a day in the hot sun. I really don't need the hot. In Texas, day before yesterday, it was 110 degrees. So I didn't need to go get a sauna in the sun for an hour. And when I got home, I was soaking wet, which is good. That's what you want. You want to be soaking wet because that means everything's working. Your sweat is taking out the bad stuff. And while you're walking, you're also taking in bad stuff, especially if you're walking near a highway because you're inhaling the fumes of all those trucks and cars and everything. Those things needed. But it's all about cleaning everything up, detoxing. Some people might not be able to do a regular detox or a vitamin C flush. I don't know. I don't know. But I know that it really has helped me and some other people that I've worked with. It's helped them to heal. But if you can't do the hot shock, can you do the cold shock? Can you do the take cold shower or get in ice water?
That's what I used to do. And that was my point. And I'm so grateful for your willingness to just, expand this conversation, because it is true that we're all so unique and different. And what I'm hearing you say is the underlying thing is we want to find what's right for us to keep our lymphatic system moving, right? To keep ourselves sweating, to keep detoxing those toxins that are in our body so that they're not sitting within us. And the sauna, it is a great way. My husband loves it and it works really well for him. So I'm not saying that's not the right way. I'm just saying that's not necessarily the right way for everyone. And so I love and appreciate your willingness to say, yeah, well, there's other ways to do it. Find what works for you.
Right.
That's really my number one message, or not number one, but my biggest message is listening to our body and what's really right for us. So as you were coming up with these 39 habits, I imagine you tried some other things that didn't work for you, right? Is that, would you, that's true? Like there were some things that you were like, nope, this isn't what my body needs.
Yeah. I don't know if this is proper to say or not, but the medicine they gave me when I came out of the hospital, I started taking it and I looked at my wife and I said, if I continue to take this, I'm going to die. And I'd rather die from some other reason than from taking medicine. That's what put me in the hospital in the first place. So I immediately discarded that. And then I found natural things that do better what that medicine was supposed to do. So I really think the answer is natural. And my process was this. Every day I walked, every day I listened. I found people online. I love Barbara O'Neill. I already mentioned her name once, and a number of other doctors that I had blockage in my carotid artery. It was really bad. They told me I was going to die. I mean, one doctor said, you may live a week or so, or you can do what I tell you to do. And that was a specialist. And I said, you better believe I don't want to die. I'm going to do what you say. And that was the nitric oxide. Now, that may not be what everybody needs. I don't know. But to me, that was the turning point in my healing. And I thought, well, if this works this good, what else? And I learned about vitamin C and D3 and K2. And eventually, I started getting sonograms where the doctors that were taking the sonograms were just shocked. They thought, well, this doesn't seem possible. I had one doctor turned over to his assistant and said, is this the same patient? Are you sure this is the right file? And she said, yes. And he says, well, this just doesn't seem possible because my blockage had been like in the 80s and it dropped down to the 60s. And he just said, I've never seen this before. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So there's a whole process. It's more than just that. It's the K2, the D3, and nattokinase. And I tried everything because my goal was not just for my blood to be flowing, but that for the arteries to clear up so that I would not just feel better, I'd feel great. And that's what happened. But a lot of it was my will. But most of it was research. I was willing to go and learn from other people, what had helped them and try. And like you said, if it didn't work, obviously I discarded it and didn't move forward with it. I've had several things where I thought, well, maybe this will work. And I did more research and I decided, no, that's not for me. I'm not even going to go there. So yeah, I totally agree. You need to be very careful with what you put in your body.
Yeah, I think, you're a great example of how you were ready to go all natural. I look back at my life and I did both Western and Eastern for over 34 years. And neither one of them, like Western got rid of my symptoms, right? So it just suppressed everything, but it actually did help in those times in my life that I needed that. But the overall healing came from me going natural, listening to my body, asking my body what it needed and doing the more natural stuff. And eventually I was able to wean off of all the Western stuff that I was on, the Western medicine. And so I'm a proponent of both. I think there's different times in our life when we need, I look at it like until I knew what I knew, I needed the Western medicine, right? And then once I knew more and I knew better and I understood my body better, I learned how to listen to my body, I was able to go more natural.
Yes, medicine it's kind of geared toward the pill. If you break your leg, you should definitely go to a hospital. They're going to help you. I mean, those doctors are are trained in that. If you have broken bones or you fall and get hurt or something, you have something. But if there's something that you feel like that you can take care of over a period of time by changing something like grounding, changing something like being in the sun, changing something like breathing. I have a breathing method that's just fantastic because the more oxygen you can take in through your lungs, and you need to keep them healthy, the more healthy you're going to be. So I have a little breathing system called the 521, and people think, can't do that. So you breathe in through your nose for 5, you hold for 6, you breathe out through your mouth for 7, and you hold for 8. And then you breathe in through your nose for 9. You keep doing that till you get to 21.
Oh,
well,
wow.
That's not seconds. That's counts. So
Right.
You learn to count really fast. And you also learn to control your breathing. So if you do that every day, you're increasing your lung capacity. You're flooding your body with the kind of oxygen and carbon dioxide that it needs. And you're making it so that even though you're getting older, this system is still working the way it's supposed to work. So that's just a simple little thing. And it's not hard to do. The hard part for any habit is getting the habit. It's creating the habit, because your subconscious is saying, we don't have to do that today. And we'll go ahead and do what we've been doing. So you have to overcome your own inner self in order to form a habit or to stop an old one.
Yes, that's so true. And I tell my clients that sometimes we have to use discipline until it becomes natural.
Right.
And those habits start by using discipline, not just, I'm going to do it today. That sometimes isn't enough. It's setting that intention and actually taking the step, whether you feel like it or not, that kind of requires for that habit to begin. Then the habits become a habit over time, right? And it just becomes, I'm so inspired by you, because you went from completely ignoring your body, completely ignoring what the messages you were given, to full on chronic breakdown, right? To building these habits and now helping others with it. And that's a beautiful progression. So before I let you tell everybody, like listeners, how they can find you and talk a little bit about what you offer, I'd like to just ask one last question. For those that are listening, that are facing major health challenges, that are completely disconnected from their body, or maybe they're not facing major health challenges, but they're like you, where they're just working and ignoring signs that are there, but there's something in the back of their head that's saying, I think I should be listening, but I'm not. Or maybe those that are just starting to go, wait, I'm pretty disconnected from my body. Where do I start? What would you want them to know about hope and healing and beginning again? Because sometimes it can feel so daunting, so difficult. What would you say to them? Because you were there once, right? And it's not easy to get where you are now.
Right.
So what like hope could you offer to them?
Well, your body instinctively wants to heal. It's programmed to heal. The important thing is that you give it what it needs. You need to give it the fresh air, the sunshine, the extra, everything that it needs. If you give it the hydration, the food, the right kind of food, then it will do the heavy lifting. It takes time. You cannot be impatient. The body is not going to heal itself in a day. It probably didn't go bad in a day. It's going to take time. But once you get on the right track, start small and add daily to improve all of your systems and all the organs in your body to let them correct. You will be surprised. And for every step you take, it takes 5 steps in your direction. I mean, that's just the way it works. And once you start the healing, it mushrooms, but you can never stop. Once you start the habits, once you stop the habits, you're going to go right back to where you were when you started. And as you get older, it becomes more difficult for the body to do that. But if you start young, give it everything it needs, then muscles can be worked until you die. You can continue to build muscles until you die. But what happens is people don't. They just go home and sit down and watch TV and drink a beer. But that's not good. That's not healthy.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So just to wrap this up, Dennis, tell us a little bit about where our listeners can find you? I know you mentioned it earlier, but tell them whatever you want to say. What do you do and how can they find you? And we'll be sure and put all the information in the show notes as well. But I'd love you to just leave the listeners with some information about yourself and then one little tip, maybe one of your 39 habits or something that you can tell them to kind of give listeners something to walk away with that they could do easily, just start now, to kind of start creating those new habits in their life.
Well, the thing that I would suggest most strongly is just go to the website, bodyofhealth.life, find the 39, and it doesn't matter which one you start with. Just pick one and say, oh, this will be easy. I can make this habit, and then go back and look. So that's my suggestion. And that's a great suggestion, because if all you did was just pick hydration, that may save you from a heart attack or a stroke, just that one little thing. But they're all powerful like that. So you pick one and maybe you make it a goal that I'm going to add another one next week and another one the following week. And before long, you've added the ones that fit you, because some of them may not fit you, may not even need them. You may think, well, I don't need that. I'm really good in that area already. Maybe you're already getting enough sun.
Yeah.
Or taking the right supplements or whatever. I have 2 websites. Actually, I've got 10 websites, but the ones you're interested in would be DennisJHenson.com and bodyofhealth.life. And both of those will get you the information. I have a radio program every Friday, and I do research, and I put together an article, and the articles go up on the website, and they're free. You can go and learn about all kinds of things, about breathing, about detoxing, about the fountain of youth, whatever. And if another good habit, this may be 40, would once a week go and read the new article, because a lot of research went into that, and it's because it helped someone else. And I found out about it, and I did the research on it, and I thought, well, maybe this will help you. The website was not put up as a profit center, but some of the recipes and some of the things on there are not easy to find. And people continue to ask me, well, where do I get one of those little trampolines, or where do I get this or that? And so there is a section there where if I mention something, you can go over there and get it. But I don't care where you get it. I just want to help people be healthy, live longer, feel better.
Feel your passion. I see that, and I appreciate you so much being on the podcast, because I know there's a lot that my listeners can gain from hearing your story and your passion and your wisdom. So thank you, Dennis, so much. Again, all that information will be in the show notes for those that are interested, and you can look him up. And thank you again for being on.
Well, thank you, Cindy. It was fun.
It was a great day.